road assessment. In coordinating with the fire chief, that fire hydrant out there is probably the worst one in town. It makes sense though, because when you look at the drawings, there's a 4-inch line up to it. So as much as anything, when they put in all the new water mains, they put it stubbing. You can see a T and they put a stub going up to Horvath Road for a 12-inch line. But then they just teed off and squirreled out a little 4-inch line. If I had to guess, the hydrant was a bit of a placeholder because of course we have to have some measure of a blow off. Like on a big dead end line like that, you can't just dead end it. You either have to have a blow off or we use a hydrant a lot of times. Alternatively, was there any big development that was supposed to happen out there? Because the way they got a 12-inch stub, it makes it look like they're ready to run a 12-inch line all out there. But that would only, like a 12, that's huge of course, that's a ton of water. When I look at the maps, I see like 4 or 5 homes on it, which for a 4-inch, beautiful. So on that one, I want to do just a little bit more homework, so to speak, on that. Were they thinking some big development was originally going to go in there? Did they just put the hydrant in as essentially as a blow-off? And they never really intended it. And it's not uncommon to do something like that. So that one's just going to be a little more assessment to get to a point like, hey, do we need to actually run a big 12-inch line out there? Or is everything kind of good as it is? Cemetery system, we touched on that one there. We're going to meet with Mr. Dick Watts on Thursday there.
Yep.
And from that, we'll develop all the good scope and start getting to work. Water meter pilot program. That's something Bubba's going to talk more about, but it's something where we might put, that's potentially big dollars for like a bigger implementation, potentially a good avenue for funding. You know, if we get to a point where we can say, hey, everything we have is funding and we need more projects, water meter is going to be a big one.
Okay.
Water system planning. We got our initial block of comments back from Department of Health there. A lot of them low-hanging fruit. A couple of them might take a little more effort there. The one in particular, like I mentioned about the source water program grant, is potentially update the watershed study. That can typically be an eye-opener because that's the type of thing where you can spend a day or you can spend a couple of years. So we just want to try to make sure that that's not going to, we try to kind of mitigate what that might be as a huge watershed study there. So as much as anything, the approach is going to be tackle all the low-hanging fruit and then schedule a meeting with Department of Health. See if we can't get a little more info and making sure we're on the same page about level of effort.
Hey, Theo.
Yes.
This is Tom. On the water source study, do you perceive that this is a standard operating procedure per the code, or whether they're kind of thinking in a direction about our particular watershed?
I think they've been somewhat lenient with Roslyn the last couple cycles. If you look, the water system plan we have now was really started in 2004. You know, that's the first time when you see the certain block of figures and talking about the treatment plant and all that. That's good. Does that help answer your question at all, or?
I'm just wondering if you know if DOH is trying to steer people away from surface water in general, and so they're making things a little bit more difficult, or?
I think they're not appreciating we're trying to get it done as quickly as possible since we're expired, and to Department of Health and especially the engineers there, for them to write a sentence, do a new watershed study. You know, for them that's a 30-second thing. For us that can be a huge level of effort. So I don't necessarily think they're trying to target us or anything, or they don't necessarily see anything coming down the pipeline. I think they can see that our original watershed study was 20 years old, and it's just they'd like an update.
Right. Gotcha. I just have a natural paranoia sometimes, so I appreciate the information.
You know, in Department of Health, I've worked with this particular engineer a lot, and we need to play things very straight. The sewer work that we touched on before there and whatnot, that's something, like I say, if we can get to a point where we've got a general sewer plan like we do for the stormwater comprehensive plan or like we do for the water system plan, that's a big jump up for a lot of funding. There was programs I was involved with through Seagate Toppenish, and they've got about $5 million worth of new sewer going in now. So it's gonna take us about a year to get there, but the I&I is a big deal.
Yeah, and I think we budgeted some money this year for, I think it was 10,000, I thought, for I&I to start with.
You know,
just in the public works department to start.
For like pre-planning, pre-con work, routing up manholes, their funding looks pretty decent.
Is there a plan then this spring to start doing looking at manholes?
And we hope Bubba's gonna start routing up
Well, we have
manholes,
the
'cause
high
it's kind of
flow.
the perfect timing. Like,
Exactly.
to see what's really leaking.
Yep, yep.
And then, of course, as he starts to mud them up, we start to track that down, and then we start to video spec all the lines in between. As long as we can start to see like, oh yeah, if it's all just in the manhole, there's nothing in the lines.
Yep.
It's of course where it starts to get real expensive, is if we gotta start replacing manholes or lines there.
Yep.
That's where, of course, we don't have that funding, and that's
Right,
where,
right.
the potentially new, infrastructure money could be a big deal, and our time looks fantastic for that.
So
too.
you'll strategize a plan of how you'll sort of work your way through the manhole system.
Indeed, that's something, with, essentially wherever he starts at the downstream, we start to track that and work our way up there.
Okay, great.
Can we step back to the water plan?
Certainly.
So we're gonna get the low hanging fruit off and like a timeline, cause I remember you saying that we wouldn't get our feedback possibly till spring, summertime, or I thought it was actually a year, possibly two. Maybe it was a year to get it adopted. So maybe that was my timeline. Okay, so we got the review back. What's our timeline to get that low hanging fruit off the list? And again, you have that list. I don't know what it is.
Indeed.
Of the feedback that you got,
Yep.
and then that big topic of the watershed, like, because you say it could be an easy task or it could be a drawn out task, like,
Definitely.
which kind of brings me on my question and my nervousness is like, so what do you see that being? Do you see it as an easy target, or do you see it as something that's gonna be long and drawn out, and we still won't have our water plan adopted for a year and a half?
I think if we put together kind of a solid look at what our watershed study is now versus what it should be, and make a solid proposal to them and kind of keep things in our court, that would be the strategy.
Okay.
We wouldn't necessarily want to just say, okay, we'll do it, because that can start to get real open-ended.
Yeah.
So no, the strategy a lot more there is to, I'll essentially boil down the watershed study, the existing one we have. You know, what's the same, what's different? For the most part, everything up there is the same. It's one of the reasons it kind of sticks in my craw a little bit that they're trying to go after us, because the last time, it's supposed to be on a 5-year approval for the watershed study. Well, 20 years later, they've approved it like 2 or 3 times already. So, okay, it's old enough, they want it updated.
Yeah.
That's the part about like, okay, well, let's just make sure, you know, anything that didn't change, don't change it, you know, let's not reinvent the wheel here.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a mitigation and making sure that we have a very solid proposal to go into Department of Health and kind of say, here's what we want to update.
Gotcha. And what do you think? How long do you think that takes for you to process all of this and get this resubmitted?
They gave us an initial resubmittal date of April 7th.
Oh.
So that's the part about getting all the low-hanging fruit squared away, resubmit it.
Gotcha.
Then during that time frame, like from pretty much now till then, try to boil down that watershed study and just that. When we send in the submittal, kind of say, hey, here's the specific thing that we'd like to talk about, and here's what our approach would be to tackle that. Because one thing I don't think Department of Health wants to do, they don't want to put us in a position to spend a ton of money and put our water system plan out of, you know, have it expire.
Yeah.
They want to work with us, but I think there's also so much kind of, when they look at their rules and they look at something that's 20 years old, it's like, okay, update this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry to step back.
It's not an easy answer,
No,
for sure,
yeah.
and we kind of got to get to that point.
Yeah. No, thank you for
But we do
clarifying.
have, till October of this year, to get it all squared away.
Okay.
So for about an 8-month window, 7-8-month window, I like where we're at for now, and as long as something like that doesn't get away from us, we should be looking pretty good.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Transportation, I'll try to get through these quick here. The sidewalk panels, as much as anything, I was trying to push to get that kind of all squared away where they were building the stuff now. So as soon as the weather got good and everything looked good, boom, come and install them. We're still working on the contract there. Are we running any roads with the snow removal stuff there as well, or as far as
As-
funding?
Well, that sidewalk panel project is not in our budget, so we'd have to find where we're gonna get those funds from. Some of it, obviously, we can, what did we have, 20,000?
from,
Yeah,
20,000 from COG.
so
Producing COG.
that's the rub there. I mean, once we have a contract, then it's a matter of how do we pay for it, and so yes, I guess the short answer to that is
And there's
yes.
lodging tax
Yeah,
money available.
exactly,
Yeah.
42,000 in lodging
Yeah,
tax that we never
right.
used, that was gonna
Yeah.
apply to
So
it,
it
which
sounds
was
like
the
if we-
62,000.
It sounds like if we get the contract squared away, the money will be there one way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's for,
That's something we should check,
Yeah.
that's a great call, Kathy, because that was the money, remember, we never found the project to put the tax lodging to, it just got
Yeah.
kicked around, whether it be the parking lot, the bathrooms.
Yeah.
And I thought we discussed before the end of the year last year that we would take that money and apply it towards the sidewalk.
Yeah, we
And then
did.
Tom was able to get us emergency 20,000 through COG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that put us to $60,000+, which I think we were guessing the estimate was around 60,000 for doing
That's
it.
good,
So
right, at 60,
if we
right.
can firm all that stuff up and council's prepared, that'd be something we can continue fixing and not, and would be in the budget.
Yeah, we have money for it, yeah.
Okay.
absolutely.
You can get it
So I
done
think on
this
our
year.
end, we're still
Yeah.
just trying to push on that
Just
contract then.
I totally forgot about that. Good
Yeah.
call, Kathy.
Okay. Well, as much as anything, we're still trying to make it happen out there.
Yeah.
The 6-year TIP, like I say, I'll have that to you, if not next council meeting, the one after. And we're gonna have that thing pretty beefed up. And going back and looking at our 2021 funding summary, we nailed every little bit of funding we went through. To a certain extent, I kinda don't mind. I mean, again, depending on what you folks think, I'd potentially be happy with a little failure, you know? If we go in for $250,000 and they only wanna give us 200, okay. Stormwater, the Alaska improvements, that's the thing, we've got the funding, we've got the survey all squared away, we're getting the design teed up, I'm gonna make sure everything's copacetic with WashDOT as far as getting under the or the highway there, going across it, most likely gonna directional drill it. And we'll just see about what we can do to put the funding together. If you recall, we were about $60,000 for the third in Utah stormwater work. I would imagine, cause we've got one real deep catch basin, and we gotta get under the highway there, double is a pretty good place to start.
Are we proposing a catch basin in that property, or are we talking about reestablishing that whole route down the alley like we originally
You'll
thought?
actually, you can see what they did with the sewer. If you, go straight down the alley, you see a
Yep.
manhole there?
Yep,
If you pop that thing, you'll see, line it's 14 feet deep.
I was gonna ask how deep it was.
They did
Okay.
that, and that's where our deep catch basin's gonna be, so we're gonna do the same thing,
Okay.
where it comes into the alley on the other side of that
Yep.
woodshed there.
Yep.
Catch basin there, boom. route
We'll chase
all
it
the
right
way
down the
across,
path.
Catch basin there, all the way down and connect to the existing
Okay.
catch basin.
Great.
Sounds easy, huh?
Sure.
And to a certain extent, realistically.
You get deep, it becomes expensive.
You know, if it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
for the
14
highway,
feet,
we would
yeah.
be getting after it. The
Yeah.
highway, you know, getting that permitted and making sure if we're gonna
Yeah.
directional drill that thing.
Great.
Did they mention anything about repaving this year?
No, but it's one of the coordination points, cause it's an avenue to be able to do an open cut.
Yeah, because they, like I've said, they did the repaving everywhere outside of Ronald, and they said they were gonna be here 2 years to 3 years, and I think we're there,
Okay. Well,
so.
it's a coordination point that I was gonna double check with them.
And I don't know if COVID knocked them back a year or what, but, not, yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, they were supposed to be doing the inside of Roslyn on the 903 stretch.
Indeed, and you know, it's something on kind of a benefit cost analysis there.
Yeah,
It's interesting with directional drilling anymore.
yeah,
'cause
could
you
be
figure-
cheaper.
Yeah, if they were gonna allow us to open cut, you know, for something like that, it's like, okay, well, we're probably gonna have to do it at night.
Yeah.
Things just start to get real expensive for the
Yeah.
traffic control and the contractor, you know, everything has a big premium there. So we'll get to that point where we kinda have a little side by side where, with directional drilling, there's some of the unknowns about like what's potentially in that section of freeway, like what they use for fill and all that stuff too
Yeah.
there. But at least we got survey work done, gonna push on the design work, like I say, get the permitting squared away and just look for that funding opportunity.
Sure you don't wanna plan it around Labor Day weekend?
Or any weekend.
Culvert and head wall reviews, there is a decent amount of new funding for culverts, and anything related to fish passage. If we can potentially find a way to fit in that window, we'll chase some funding for it. But one way or the other, it's something between Bubba and Michelle and I, we've been working on what amounts to a general HPA, the hydraulic project approval, through Department of Fish and Wildlife there, because even to go in, you know, the heads there, where the creek's going in, the inlet there, we gotta have a permit to go in and even do a little clearing around and all that. So we got that all squared away to, if nothing else, at least kind of do a lot of maintenance around all the inlets and whatnot. CIP 1, getting ready to go out to bid in May. We just gotta keep an eye on that snow mountain there, that's where we just got crossed a little bit, cause, we had worked it out, that's where their staging area is gonna go, in addition to, of course, the 42-inch pipeline out there. So he might have seen, Big Jim already started working at that thing a little bit in just a few hours. He made a pretty
Yeah,
decent
it looks like
amount
we
of
break
progress.
it up
Yeah.
into all, and going away fast.
Yeah, and we set those staff gauges at the top too, so we get an idea weekly at how much, after a certain point. If it's not going down to a certain, at a certain rate, then we just gotta look at a plan to have some contractors get it out of there and whatnot. Cause one thing, for as long as you folks been working on it and whatnot, we can't be the reason it's delayed. It's not gonna get delayed. So you can expect, towards the end of May, I believe it was, to see, recommendations for,
Great.
yeah. Miscellaneous improvements, as always, there's some legacy lines out there. We kinda wanna make sure where they come from and where they go to and whatnot. There's this kind of a handful of miscellaneous stuff going over with Bubba.
Well, that was one of our big things was maps, because we had map from this year, map from that year changes and not updated maps. So yeah, that was one of those big things that we wanted to see improved, is making sure that all of our maps were accurate.
Indeed, that's
And so
something,
that was-
Bubba's been doing a lot of work going through the corner back there too. If everybody's seen those big boxes, he's been going through a lot of those. They found a lot of fantastic and updated maps and things like that.
Nice.
So it is, depending on the last time you took a look in the shop back there, we're starting to get more kind of comprehensive and which map is what and just that.
Cool.
And the last thing I got on there for just general, the vacant lot, across from the park out there, essentially same deal. We got the survey work squared away out there, so I'll just kind of put together a little site plan. On the one hand, when you look at the potential new programs and EV charging and all that good stuff there, it's a potential window there, so just FYI on that.
What kind of power do you need though for EV charging?
Couldn't say.
That'd be a way to hide the chargers out of the way and not be downtown if we wanted to have a electric
But I
charging.
thought you need like a
station.
3-phase or a beefy power, but I could be wrong.
I have no idea.
For,
I'm more
A
than
lot.
happy to try to make work, whatever you folks
Hey,
decide.
however the city can make money off of our assets that we have, anyway, I believe. Cause right now we need to figure out how to make money off the
There was
properties
one-
that sit.
Just to clarify, I'm sorry, but that's a lot designated for parking,
Mhm.
so.
Indeed.
Yes.
And that's just about.
No, that's what we're
Do
talking
they
about.
potentially
Yeah,
wanna
that's
put charging stations there, or,
Right. Yeah,
as
Yeah,
far as
that-
grants go, I mean, as you can imagine, it's a potentially great way to get the whole thing paid, it's right, it's
Yeah.
lighting, the whole show.
Well, we don't wanna make it too not Roslyn, we wanna keep it dirt, or gravel, nice compacted gravel.
No, we get all the research. Yeah.
One for you in
It's
particular,
for a car show.
strategic innovation for revenue collection, specific new program,
Perfect.
yeah. So that's all I had, I'm happy to answer any questions if you had it, and sorry to keep around for too long,
No, that's a
No,
good
that's
one.
great, good info.
thank you.
A lot of progress, by the way, a lot of
Yeah,
progress.
Theo, that was awesome.
Yeah, we got a
Thank you.
busy year ahead of us, we're gonna keep
Thank
cracking.
you very much.
Awesome. Whatever we can do, let us know.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was really good.
Hold on, I have one thing there before we. So we asked for a grant from Roslyn Downtown Association to fund, because neither was in the budget, the permitting software that we got, as well as the Text My Gov
Yep.
for 2022, because neither one was in the budget, and we did receive all of the funds to fund both completely, so I just want to say thank you to
Yeah,
RDA.
please say thank you to the RDA, everybody.
Yep,
Thank
and
you,
we didn't send
RDA.
them a letter, but I did want to let you guys know that, big thank you.
Very cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle. It's the first staff report you've done in years.
Well, I don't know what department you'd like me to report
Well, I
out
know.
for, I mean.
You're mostly talking. I've never had a report before.
My staff report might take the full 2-hour meeting.
Okay, I'm not taking a lot of your time. I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate being allowed to speak about the Kittitas County, Upper Kittitas County Community Rec Center. We're into the final stages of this survey. And if Michelle could put it up for me on the screen, that would be great.
I can do that.
For everybody watching, we've extended the survey to the end of the month. And what this is now is we've got 3 options. A good, a better, and a best. And, they all have different little price tags. I think the only reason they got me on the board still is I can raise money. We're gonna have a capital campaign to raise about 45 million. We got the 12 acres gifted to us from Tremblay, Suncadia, and their successors. And in addition to that, we get another $4 million. $2 million is already in the bank. The other $2 million comes after we hit a certain plateau. That being said, it's still gonna cost money. All 3 options have a pool. Some have bigger pools. Option B has a splash pad. running tracks, there's a lot of things. My big ask today is that everybody fills the survey out, whether you want it or not, whether you want A, B, or C. There's lots of great information on that survey, cost and how we came up with the cost. Once this survey is completed, we will reevaluate the results. We'll come back and fine tune the result, and come back out again and explain it one more time. At that point, we're going to work towards funding. So, with that in mind, encourage everyone to fill it out. And we had kind of a tough run with getting it out because of the weather. I went around and handed these out last fall, everywhere in town, but we're lacking some people to finish filling them out. So encourage all your friends, neighbors, family. If you're a household of 4 people, you can all 4 fill it out. You can fill it out if you're a renter. I think it would be a good add to the county. Can the county afford it?
Is the idea to run this as a levy then?
Yes, a levy, yes.
When do you anticipate running the levy?
I don't have the exact date up on that. It would be in the fall, I think.
Right.
It wouldn't be in spring, it'd be in the fall. We won't make the spring deadline, I don't think.
Well, I mean, there's also an August,
Yeah, we wouldn't make that,
okay.
because there's still one more set of data to go over when we get this survey results back, and we'll go from there. I don't see a problem with us raising $4 to $5 million, on our side of it, to go with the money we already got, but we are gonna be short for a levy, and we're gonna have to do that. Now, whether the Parks and Rec District we're basing this out of has the stomach for that, this is part of what's gonna be found out with this survey. So, whether you want it or not, fill it out, lots of great information. Other than that, that's all I really got for you tonight. You guys have a long day, and I don't wanna take any more of your time, but push the survey, we got to the end of the month to get it done.
So, sorry to take your time, but, so we have 3 options. Is the less amount option paid for right now? None of them are currently paid for?
No. The option A, the smaller version would be a 4-lane pool, a gym, and party room, plus an office and changing rooms. That'd be 38 cents per thousand of value, tax assessed value. And the second option is 51 cents, but you get a bigger pool, you get a splash pad, you get an indoor track. And then option C actually adds covered turf field, 8,000 square feet, and outdoor amenities as well. So, and they really run anywhere from, and these are still good estimates of cost per thousand, but we'll finalize that a little bit better when we get the other result back. But, so 38 cents per thousand for option A, 51 cents for option B, 65 cents for option C. And, so, with that, I appreciate your time this evening. You guys have a long day too.
Sorry, Tom.
Oh, no
So one
problem.
more question, because
Okay.
I haven't been a part of this process, but the potential community recreational center site, so it's on that corner on Bullfrog, right?
Yes.
Is there a driveway currently that we could envision right now? Because all I see is,
You know
it's
where
on
the
that,
bus, you know where the bus barn's at?
yeah,
It's gonna back up.
right after the bus barn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So
okay.
it's gonna-
On
it's
this
gonna
map, it
be-
looks like it's
It's
way down the road.
It's kinda where, bad words, but 47 degrees north, let's look at it back in there.
Yeah,
We would be to the south of that.
so yeah.
South
So
side.
west of it.
Going down Bullfrog right after the bus barn,
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
flat piece out
Yeah.
there. Okay,
And
that's,
It's a
that's
nice
fine.
piece of.
Oh, nice piece of property.
Yeah.
When I was looking on the map, I was like, I don't know where, how we're getting there, but okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
We got through the infrastructure stuff as
Down the
well.
hill.
So-
Yeah, that's what I was
Hey,
saying, where are we going?
Just to put it in perspective, because I was doing a little bit of just general looking around. Our current assessment in Roslyn in our district is $6.74 a thousand, and so the various options would be an increase of anywhere between 5 to 10% depending on the option. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad, because I filled out the survey and I have my choice, which I'm not going to say, but just so that people can understand where that puts things.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, if nothing else, just go to the website, go to the survey.
There's lots of
There's
great
a lot of
information on
information
there.
there,
There's
yeah.
a lot of information. They did a nice job on the feasibility study, and it's It's not a 15-minute survey, I will warn you, but there's lots of great information. I'll answer all your questions. I could take all night and go through it. Believe me, I do 2.5-hour meetings once a week, and you don't wanna do it, so. Read the survey stuff, it'll answer your questions. If you have questions after that, feel free to contact me, and I'll try and get them answered, okay?
Cool. Thanks,
All
Tom.
right.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, have a great
Thanks for the
night.
hard work.
Thank you, Tom.
See you guys.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes,
Sorry,
absolutely.
I didn't get to tell you guys. So we had, Joe O'Malley donated this to the fire department. It's a rapid extrication team bag. So it's in memory of Don Osmanovich. So his family donated this for us, and, so if there's a down firefighter, we can get in and get them air and get them out quickly. So we're doing training on that, and so now we have that.
Great, awesome.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
really cool.
Awesome.
Sorry, just wanted to add that.
That's great.
We quickly have two appointments to the commissions. We've got Amy Ramsey is gonna join the CAC, and Justin Davis is gonna join the Planning and Historic Preservation.
Good.
They both were okay by their chairs, so,
Okay.
and their applications are great. I think they'll be good additions.
Are there any openings in any
I
other?
think each one of them has at least one more open.
Not CAC, no.
No, they're full now.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I think CAC
yeah, I
is
think
full.
planning talked to, Mark asked me about it, and I said it was a discretion of what you want and what you wanna work out with the mayor, I think, in the group, but I think
Do
Mark
they
said he.
have five
he-
now?
So it's
they have
5,
four.
and
They might have 5, but he's,
we've got, we've got 4 and another application,
Oh,
Yeah, I
which would
think
put
what
us
they-
at the 5, unless we have those specific areas of expertise, we can go up to
yeah,
7.
yeah, I think they're
Yeah.
really, they like their continuity of the group, I mean, it really does fit a great profile, if you look at the backgrounds of the 4 that are in there now. And I think what they wanna do is just make sure, if there's other applicants, that there's a cohesiveness with the team, is how they're looking at it, and I think they're quite productive as a group from the last couple of years, so.
was there any citizen requests for commenting?
No.
Okay, so then the new business tonight is the B&O, first is the B&O tax increase.